All right, here we are in game number 8. We are so close. What?
Nope, nothing.
Okay. Awkward intro. Thank you, Zombie Grub, for that. I was gonna say we're so close to the end of the day here. There's one game left after this we played out. Of course, this is the best of 9, almost at match point, but not quite yet. Axiom's getting close. Taeja, though, is of course the last hope of Team Liquid, and we're getting so close to this ending one way or another. But I'm Rifkin, joined today by Zombie Grub, and kicking this map off. This map that you probably guys have not seen in a long time. Spawning in the lower right corner of the map, playing for the Team Axiom, the newest comer to this arena, if you will. It is going to be Ryung.
And in the bottom left, as the red Terran, it's going to be Liquid Taeja. And isn't this the match point for Axiom? It's 4-2, right? Or it's 4-3 now, right?
Yeah, 4-3. So the next one would be match point. 4-4 in game number 9 would be the last game.
I always thought that, match point was... Never mind. Anyways.
Isn't match point when you're on your last life? That's what I've always known it to mean. Because, like, Taeja's on a match point. Like, if he loses, he's out.
I always thought it was... Match point was, like, when it was set and match. So when you win.
Oh. Well, whatever.
So.
Definitions aside, guys, the reality is it's 4-3. If Ryung dies, they can, of course, resurrect one player. So we'll just put that confusion to the side for the time being, because we don't need a Webster's Dictionary to cast StarCraft 2. But Newkirk is a bit of a fickle map. TVT, of course, is awesome no matter how you look at it. Whether it's tanks versus Marines, whether it's Banshee openers one way or another, this can be a very dynamic game. But I think the one very unfortunate side of TVT is it's a bit slow to get going. But once you get going, it's just tactical decisions from there to the end of the game, right?
Really? Because now I would say that it's like the fastest to get going, because you always stay on one base for so long.
Well, I guess that depends on your openings too, right? Like if you open with Banshee, then yeah, I guess I kind of see that. But I don't know, man.
Which most people do nowadays. There are some that try and get the CC after a Reaper. Some people even try and go for like double Reaper, try and punish the fact that you're going for quick Banshee or something like that. But it seems to be that most people just go up to Starport, whether it's for a Viking and a Raven or for those Banshees.
Well, Banshees, I think, are still pretty popular right now, and they're a good go-to. We'll see if this ends up being the case as both players... Well, actually, Taeja's only taking a second gas, but that's second gas. I don't know if Ryung necessarily would go for it. Command Center Fact even coming in base, so never mind. Rifkin just needs to look. But I was going to say, the Banshees... The problem I have with Banshees in TVT, right? Like, I'm going to use Innovations as a big example for this, and I'm going to probably piss some people off by saying this, but... For example, every single game of Innovation I've ever cast in the Acer Team Story Cup in TVT, he's gone Banshees, and every time they've done absolutely nothing. If you know Banshees are coming, because they are predictable, they're pretty easy to shut down. But in the worst case scenario where you don't see them coming, they could just ruin your day.
The thing is that people just assume by now. Like, it's not even that you scan and confirm. It's just people just assume, so they're going to have a Viking or they're going to have an Engineer Bay in time for that. It's more so that you don't really expect to get those huge SCV kills, although that can happen. It's that you have map presence and you're the one in the control of the game, which, a lot of people really like to, they like to be in control and set the pace rather than letting their opponent set the pace. That's what Taeja's going to do right here, by going up to those Banshees. Ryung is going to go up to what seems to be Widow Mines. I thought that was going to be Hellions for sure, but no, Widow Mines. That could just be, 2 Widow Mines and then going into Hellions, so, they can defeat the Banshees, which is pretty smart.
And Zombie Grub, I do officially yield to your definition of match point as I see chat flooding, calling me wrong. That delay, that's fine. Whatever, terminology aside, the point is still 4-3 is what it boils down to. But I'll admit when I'm wrong. Banshee going to come across here with Cloak, but one key thing about these Widow Mines is, of course, they've kind of had their central damage increased. Do you know if it's enough to one-shot a Banshee now? I know it wasn't before.
Oh, that's a really good question.
Because
no idea.
Real quick thing for the patch, guys, if you missed it, Widow Mines, the tooltip hasn't been updated to reflect it properly, but Widow Mines do more damage concentrated on the target that they hit, and it sort of dissipates outwards and does less damage to the sort of outer edges of the circle. So now that they can one-shot Oracles, I believe they can one-shot Banshees too, but I could be wrong, because that's versus shields, right?
We're gonna see. The Viking is going to mess up our plans, though. Damn, Viking.
We won't get to do science today, Zombie Grub.
Oh, man. Well, Taeja gets automatically denied. The Viking's out.
Ooh.
The Widow Mine... Oh, that's Taeja's Widow Mine. These guys.
Oh, sick move out of Ryung! That was so clutch. Did you see that? Please tell me you're watching the left half of the map.
I'm watching your view, so yeah.
So good. I've never seen.
That was pretty cool.
I've never seen anyone do that. That was fantastic. Not the biggest deal, of course, but still pretty cool nonetheless.
Gotta be careful because he has been saving up that energy, saving up a lot of energy. That's one thing a Banshee does at least is, you know, stop the mules from being called down.
Yeah, it stints the economy for a bit in the early game, but the Raven's about to pop, so saving scans is no longer going to be a bit as big of an issue.
Never mind.
Just barely dodges out of it. Banshee's still alive though.
Okay. Kind of a stalemate at the front. Marine line.
Oh, but Banshee in the back.
Now.
Yeah, with the Raven coming out, they're forced to retreat out of this. Widowmine going to go off though. But okay, so 5 workers killed. Not crazy out of Taeja. I mean, this is pretty decent harass, but it's nothing that's really. It's not killed a lot is the problem. But if he keeps these alive for later, Banshees are great for sniping off tanks, for sort of coming in from the side, you know, pushing issues, even going for a worker harass in the late game. But Ryung's looking to play, I want to say he's going to play mech, and I say this because of how many Hellions he's already built up, but just kind of waiting.
I'd say so. It's going to be very interesting to see how this attack goes for Taeja, though. Against all those Hellions that Ryung has, they're going to melt the Marines, and they can survive long enough against that tank fire to do a lot of damage to the Marines, especially if they're in a line like they are right now.
Oh,
and Ryung, pay attention.
Lining up for these hits, Ryung. Oh, if he had just run past that tank, he could have killed like all those Marines. They were lined up so perfectly.
Yeah.
But Widowmine takes out the other Banshee. So unfortunately now the Banshees are out of play for Taeja. This doesn't mean he can't remake them later, but curiously enough, we have Ryung actually investing in his own cloaked Banshees now. And a big part of this, I think, is not going to be for the worker harass, but for picking off the tanks. Now that being said, Taeja already invested in a Raven earlier, I believe. Where is this guy?
Yes.
Yeah, fighting in the main here.
So the counter Banshee is pretty popular. A lot of the times the opponent who went Banshees first will not get the Viking and the Raven simply because, well, why are you going to get Banshee so much later than I did? But it happens a lot. So, and, you know, seriously, a Viking and a Raven are really, really useful, even later on in the game, no matter what style you're going.
Oh yeah,
so
point defense, drones,
auto
auto turrets. I mean, there's no downside to what a Raven brings to the table.
Yeah, I mean, the only downside is that it stalls your medevac production for a little while longer, but Taeja's not even in a hurry to get that out, so it doesn't matter.
Now let's talk about mech versus bio for a second, TVT. As we said earlier, you know, even without Blue Flame, Hellions are incredibly good versus bio. If you know your opponent's got a primarily Marine-composed army, Blue Flame, of course, even better. But the big advantage is, that gets overlooked a lot, is the fact that Hellions are fast enough to get on top of tanks. So if you can take out the Marines quick enough and get within the dead zone of tanks, your Hellions, they might not do a lot of damage versus armored, but they'll do enough to kill.
That's very true. Ooh. I don't think he's going to be getting in there anytime soon, though. Being defensive on 2 bases is Taeja's best bet until he gets a good composition. Because right now, he's something about Marines, which is not a good composition. He won't start mixing Marauders, and that's exactly what he's doing. Also getting that third, Ryung's third already done. He's going to be able to get that faster than Taeja, which is a little problematic for a bio player. They want to have that great economy, they want to have the great upgrades, so they can trade with the mech player constantly.
Man, Ryung, by the way, just like this bug splat of supply depots behind his thing, or behind his mineral lines.
Yeah.
No, you don't see that
was
too much.
So great for that.
Yeah, there's just so much dead space in the main, like so much extra space, but...
Yeah. Well, this is also a map we don't see that often anymore, right? Like, we haven't even talked about how...
I think Acer Team Story Cup's like one of the last few tournaments that still utilize it.
Well, yeah, I think I saw something else that did it, but yeah, it's such an old map. It's kind of a dated map pool. It's not that the map was terrible, it just kind of got phased out because it wasn't super exciting, I'd say. So they were just like, that's kind of boring, let's phase it out. But
well, that, even
it does make for some...
Well, I was going to say, even when they added this whole southern part to the map, it didn't really improve it that much either. But coming with the Hellions. No Blue Flame just yet, forces it back out, picks off some Marines though. Taeja, however, you know, the scary thing is you guys have to consider Marauders are armored, tanks are armored. No, they don't take the bonus damage from the Hellions, so splash damage is basically bonus damage if you have enough of it.
Wise words. Ryung's really depending a lot on Hellions. You know, he has a ton of Hellions, not even going up into Hellbats, which is something we always saw back when Hellbats were really, really good with Flame automatically. Bluefin, by the way, is going to finish like right now, just in time for this attack. Taeja, I was going to talk about this map in particular because this third, it looks really nice, but if you can pincer from the bottom and the top, then suddenly not so nice for the mech player.
Yeah, tank siege jump a little bit late here for Ryung. Point defense is going down, though, so they're going to soak a lot of that Marauder fire, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Auto turrets on top of the tanks as well, forced to evacuate the base here is Ryung, and these aren't important. Geysers, 5th and 6th geysers for a mech player are everything. and he's going to lose the base, give this up. One tank left at home should be able to keep these at bay, but he's not going to shut this down. However, actually I say that, but there's one Marine for anti-air. This single Banshee from Ryung will actually push this back.
Well, the auto turret is literally the scariest thing right now for Ryung. But the scan does go away, so he's going to be able to take it out anyways. But the problem is that Ryung, this isn't so bad if he's able to retake it, but it's going to be so hard to retake this third. He's just going to be constantly on top of it until Ryung can actually push him all the way back. So maybe a counterattack with Blue Flame Hellions or something, because this is going to be such a difficult time, and Taeja is going to take this fight.
Unfortunately, though, the Hellbats are just not enough for this. And the unsieged tank's going to push into the tanks. Already sieged of Ryung. The Marauder's doing a ton of damage. But yeah, that Banshee did a lot. I mean, if that Banshee wasn't alive, this would not be as close of a trade. But, ooh, picks up that one tank at the last second. Taeja, with a small force, going to try and stim into this. Tank needs to be protected. Unloading on top of this.
The tank on the tank.
Oh, man. What was that, like, microsecond that it touched the ground? I don't even know if that tank touched the ground before it got picked up again.
I don't know. Ryung is in a bit of trouble right here. He really needs those third. You're talking about the fifth and sixth gases. He really, really needs it to continue up his production. He's only going to be able to produce out of the 5 factories. Usually by now you want to be on 7. So this is it's not looking so good for Ryung. But the great thing about mech is that if you can survive and you can get that really big army, even if it takes you forever, it's a really good army.
Yeah. This is... Well, the Hellbats are great at protecting against drops. I mean, typically as a Terran player, you want to drop your Marines to top of the tanks, do a bit of splash damage and what have you. But whether it's Marauders, tanks, or Marines getting dropped, Hellbats just, they pack a punch. 18 damage and splash. Medevacs overextending their welcome. Like, oh, I guess it shouldn't be this deep into the base of Ryung. Gets chased off by this one Viking, but... This is going to be really hard for Ryung. If he gets choked off on 2 bases for too long, Taeja doesn't even need to push in and win with a fight. He'll just win through the economy as this game gets further in.
Ryung is getting a task force that is impressive enough, but now it comes down to the fact that Taeja has enough to do that pincer that I was talking about. So even if it's not a frontal attack that could win, it's the pincer that could, and Ryung's got to be so careful about that when he decides to push out and take it out. One thing that Ryung is not doing is he's not really investing a whole lot in the air. He's getting a few Vikings, but he could also be getting medevacs and dropping the Hellbats on top of Taeja's army, which has shown to be very, very effective in the past.
Oh yeah, Blue Flame right on top of those Marines. They're all going to die so quickly. 30 damage versus light guys. Marines only have like 55 health, so 2 Hellbats coming out, 1 volley. That's enough to kill any man of Marines. Of course, the nice thing about the Hellbats too is they've got so much health that this is going to allow Ryung to push forward. As we see here, they're going to soak a lot of this damage. Coming in here for that pincer move, though, onto the south. Will this be too much of a split? The tanks are unguarded in the north, and the Marines just stand right on top of it. A couple Marauders will take out the last couple tanks, and Ryung now left with nothing. Oh, 1 tank trying to hold this so desperately, but good game is going to be called. And that is... Okay, what do we call... Is this game point, match point? What's this one called, where it's 4-4?
The ace match?
This is the ace match, then, because Rifkin he's yielding his terminology today. But okay, now the ace match, we have to consider, before we do commercials, guys, Axiom can resurrect any player that's played today, or they can bring out Heart, brand new and fresh. It's up to them. I gotta say, though, Taeja vs. Crank, again, might be their best bet, because Crank has been, like, just ridiculous today. What do you think, before we toss that to heads? What's your call on this, Zombie Grub? What's your guesstimation?
Wait, what was the question?
Who do they bring out next?
Oh, right. Axiom? I would say throw out Crank again.
Cool. So we can agree on that. Can't agree on definitions, so we agree on that much. But guys...
You can't agree on definitions. They're just...
I know.
You're either right or wrong.
It's like arguing science. Like, oh, I disagree that X equals blah. But no, okay, guys. We are going to actually have Heart come out. So we're going to toss out some ads real quick. 2 minutes. We'll see you guys in just a sec. Don't go anywhere. The last game, game number 9, is coming up in just a moment.